Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Tech Talk with Ethan. And today I'm here with Kirk Keen, who is a theater consultant. Thank you so much for joining me today, Kirk.
No problem.
Could you introduce yourself and tell us a little about what you do?
Sure. My name is Kirk Keen. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm a theater consultant with Theater Projects, where our consultancy is based out of Norwalk, Connecticut. We have offices all over the world. We have an office in Connecticut. We have an office in Midtown New York. We have an office in Denver, and we also have an office in London and a small acoustician office in Paris, France, and another office in Shanghai. And we're a full service theater consultant firm. We consult on everything from theater equipment like rigging, and we also do and lighting systems, which is what my focus is a lot on. We do building design the envelope of the theater, to how it sounds, how it looks, what sight lines are to the stage, that kind of stuff. We also do audio visual consulting as well as integrated technologies. A lot of things, lobby displays, all of that. Integrating technology into our spaces is very important to us. And yes, so that's kind of basically what we do.
That's great. That seems very like intuitive, right? Like like all the there's a lot that goes into that, right?
Yeah, theaters are special places, special buildings, and we help architects realize these buildings are. It's not just a typical multi-story building. There's a lot that goes into it,
Mm-hmm.
and we bring our collective theatrical and performance knowledge into, and we all work together collaboratively to make sure that the people who are spending millions of dollars on these facilities, that they have a good space to work in, especially the people who will be actually climbing in our catwalks and working backstage, to make sure they have a good building to work in. Also for the people who are experiencing performances in these venues, to make sure that they can get the best experience that they can get.
Mm-hmm. So your company has designed all around the world, correct?
Yes.
So
Yes.
everywhere that you could think
Yeah.
of in the world.
Some of our flagship projects have been, we did the Oslo Opera House, which was a winning opera house. We did the Disney Concert Hall. We did the Dolby Theater, which is where the Academy Awards
Oh
are.
yeah.
And we also do high schools and middle schools and colleges, and we're not,
Wow.
yeah. The bigger projects are nice. They come around once or twice, and those are really great. But our bread and butter are the theaters that everyone can go to.
Hmm. So that's from opera, right, to like
Opera,
smaller
concert
venues.
halls, yep,
Okay.
black boxes, uh, dance performance venues, all of
Hmm.
that.
Nice. So your specialty is lighting not fixtures, but uh,
Right,
yeah, yeah,
lighting
sorry, lighting
systems.
systems. So could you talk a little about that?
Oh, sure. So it's basically what my job would be in that, whenever I'm designing systems, is making sure that uh, we put circuits on pipes to make sure that you can have lights, you can plug them in where you need them to be, that it makes sense, so that they're not scattered around randomly, so that where the circuits are makes sense for as the people who are actually working in these venues, so they're at the right height, they're
Hmm.
spaced appropriately apart, there's the right number of them, there's not too many, there's not too little. We also do data distribution, networking. It's a lot of network nowadays, so we make sure that all of these networks work, and they're rung out correctly. Um, uh, what else? Work lights. There's a lot of to make sure that people can see when they're supposed to work. House lights, to make sure that that all of that dims in and out correctly. We as a practice have embraced the LED revolution, as it were, over the past
Yeah.
5-10 years, to make sure that uh, it for us, it's a question of being environmentally responsible. These
Hmm.
fixtures burn a lot less coal out in the world. If anything that that we can do as system designers to help out, we feel is important. And there's been a lot of talk about how it affects design and how it looks in on stage, but I feel that the same way that we've kind of got out of the old limelight fixtures or candle operated
Hmm.
lightings.
Yeah.
It's that same sea change. We're really changing. The tech is really changing. It's becoming viable. It's these fixtures aren't just they're not fake pretend fixtures that aren't as rugged as we need them to be in a production environment. These are real
Hmm.
fixtures and they really work well.
Yeah. So do you also like help design like how all that comes to the lighting board, right? So like,
Right.
routing and all that and
Mhm. All that data, all that where everything plugs into how those computer networks work. Right. We do design those. And sometimes those systems and those networks are standalone.
hmm.
Sometimes lighting sits by itself and sound sits by itself and
Yeah.
the video network sits by themselves. But other times we'll converge those networks and we'll either converge them with the building itself or with other performance venues or with other performance networks.
Hmm. Exactly. So for example, like when you get like a when a theater company wants to start wants to make a theater company or have or begin the process of rebuilding a theater, re-renovating, do you guys get a quote from or you guys get a quote from you guys you write a quote for them and then you tell them what they need for this and all that?
Right. Yes, it's a little bit like that. Like usually it depends on we're approached in several different ways. We can either be approached directly from the users, which
Hmm.
which which means we're working for the people who own the space, but the majority of the time we're a client of the architect, and so they're driving everything, and we're working for the architect
Okay,
in
yeah.
those scenarios. Yeah, but
Makes
uh,
sense.
but we'll come up with budgets so people can get an idea of how much all of our work and our equipment is going to cost
Hmm.
and cost all that out, and then yeah, that's how that works.
Nice. Well, and then you guys like you have like a team of people who go out and construct, right? Like you have a construction team that goes out and assemble stuff and put stuff in place, right? And you guys are designing particularly.
No, no, not actually. It's more like the building will get built by the contractors that are kind of working through the architect, and
Okay.
then they'll have and all of our designs are they're combined with the architect's drawings, and so those will get built up. Now we'll go on site. Us as consultants will go on site and make sure that everything is being handled correctly and that things are being built to how we specified it,
Hmm.
how we drew it. And then after it's built and when it's in the commissioning phase, which phasing in the constructing world
Hmm.
is a thing. So after it's before the before the everybody moves in and starts working, we'll go into the space and start pushing all the buttons and running the line sets and making sure that everything works and trying to make sure that everything was installed correctly, not backwards or upside down, which
Hmm.
doesn't happen as much anymore. Modern construction is amazingly accurate, even with the millions of moving parts that a theater can have. It's very rarely do we have to say, this was installed incorrectly, but we still
Hmm.
we still check everything to make sure, because we don't want 10 years down the line, finally somebody did some weird production where it tricked something and it broke. So we
Yeah,
try to make sure that doesn't happen.
exactly.
Mhm.
That's great. For these designs, what software do you use to render all that?
We use everything. We use everything from Revit, Autodesk Revit software, which is what a lot of the architects and other construction people are using to make their contract documents. For the design part of it, we use everything from Rhino, which is a great modeling software, really fast and easy to use. We use Autodesk Inventor for some of the detailing if we have to get down to the bolt level of some new engineering stuff that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
We use AutoCAD for sketching, 2D things for 2D sketches. AutoCAD is really fast. We use a lot of, we'll even use SketchUp, anything to kind of, anything that will let us tell a story
Mm-hmm.
of what we're wanting to do. We don't do, some of our designers will use, especially our interior designers will still hand sketch, and they have those chops to be able to do that. A lot of us don't. I wasn't
Yeah.
trained in that. I mean, I was on the way back when I was an undergrad. They still taught us hand drafting, but it's kind of no one really teaches that much anymore.
Yeah. It's still important though, right? To
I think so.
have
I
rough
think
sketches.
I think sketching is important. I do a lot of hand sketching just to get my ideas out on paper. There's like a cognitive bias to where if you put it into a computer, you start to think that that's how it's going to be. That's how it is. Where
Mm-hmm.
if you're sketching with a pencil, you still have that ability to erase, and so it's not permanent in your head.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's still part of the design process, right?
Right. Oh yeah. We'll still we do have some fancy programs that will take some hand sketches and actually convert that into computer line work that we can then manipulate in different ways.
Nice. You focused in you were electrician before you mainly master
Right.
electrician before going into this how do you switch from master electrician to lighting? How is that switch?
It was so I did my I did my undergrad a long time ago, and I worked out in the industry as a production lighting person, either as a designer or as a like a master electrician or a production electrician in a ton of different places. Um, After I did that for about 18, 19 years, and just I moved around the country doing all that and got kind of fed up with it, and just the constant moving. And I'd gotten married and had a couple of kids, and that production lifestyle was just, it was just getting too much. And
Hmm.
I figured it was time to go back to grad school, and so I went to the Yale School of Drama uh, for graduate school, and one of the focuses that we have at Yale is in theater planning, and I had no idea that that was even a thing. Like a lot of people, I just kind of thought that theaters just popped up out of the ground and just
Yeah.
working as they're supposed to work. I had no idea, but I'd also been in really bad theaters, right? Like we've all worked in theaters that are just terrible,
Yeah.
and you have no idea why are the catwalks 5 feet tall?
Yep.
Why do I have to duck under stuff all the time? Like
Exactly.
why? And and I realized, oh wait, there's people who can help plan these things better. That's really great.
Hmm.
And so I'd gotten into the program to be a production manager because that's kind of where I thought that would be a nice new career path
Hmm.
for me. But then I found this, and I was like, oh man! So I changed my path after my first semester into this, and it's a weird conglomeration of like theater knowledge and architecture. So
Hmm.
I took a lot of theater classes in what we call technical design and production, where we learn how to be technical managers and technical designers.
Hmm.
We learn how to build stuff and draw stuff to be built in a particular way, and how to manage that process,
Yeah.
how to load in a show, and all of that stuff.
Hmm.
And then I also took a handful of architecture classes so I could learn how architects think and how they work, and uh, how how same theater design is as architects think. That there's a lot of the same like thought processes, but the actual like how they produce those designs is completely different. So
Hmm.
it's really great to be able to see how those work together.
So that class was kind of like stage crew 101, right? Just like the basics of building and design and all that.
The architecture classes are a lot more esoteric than that. They're a lot more, you're thinking of like, okay, why buildings? like that stuff like that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
They
exactly.
they 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 really go back to, there's a lot of like
Yeah,
why think about this, why do this, thinking of the building as like an expression, or a building as a feeling, how you feel when you walk up to a building and all that. And it sounds really touchy feely in
yeah,
a lot of ways,
yeah, it
but
does.
but uh but us as theater designers, we can really take that to heart, because it's true. Like you can really like how a lobby feels when you walk through it,
Mm-hmm.
when you walk into, well, like when you walk into that theater for it, and you see the how it grows and expands. All that
Yeah.
is super important. And if you're building it from the, if you're building it from the ground up, you kind of want to have those experiences, and thinking about them. And there's
Mm-hmm.
people, smarter people than me, who've been doing it for, decades, who think about, how that works. And architects, they just drink that up. That's kind of how they're born and bred. And then
Mm-hmm.
you throw a theater person into that mix, and then that's how you get really, really smart theaters, and theaters that are really beautiful, not just to watch a show in, but also to just sit in.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. That's, I mean, that makes sense, and it's kind of cool how there's so many small details that, us as tech sort of think about, but then the audience does not think about, whatsoever, and there's just these small details that you would never know that, people put thought into,
Yeah, talk about
which I
all
think
the
is
little
really
stuff,
interesting.
like all the like the theater in New York that Harry Potter is at. That whole
Uh-huh.
theater was gutted and renovated specifically to hold Harry Potter. So there's a ton of little detaily stuff in that theater
Mm-hmm.
that the consultants thought of to put
Yeah.
in there to kind of carry the theme of the show through that. And that kind of stuff is really, really interests me as a as a theater planner, and as a an actual theater maker.
Yeah, that's really cool. So
Mhm.
basically, for example, like you guys would think of, like it doesn't matter what show goes in that theater, right? Like it's like for that sort of for the Harry Potter theater, exactly like that, that has those details, and those details will be there, like those details are implanted, right? And then
Right,
when a new show comes in, those details will still be there, but it wouldn't be for that specific show,
right, yeah.
particularly, right?
Or it might get redesigned and re-renovated
Yeah,
after
yeah,
Potter goes out. Who knows? Or Potter could be there forever.
yeah, exactly.
No one really
Yeah.
knows. But in theaters that are more general,
Hmm.
like your local regional theater,
Yeah.
there's a lot of work that goes into figuring out, like, what's that theater going to look like. Because
Hmm.
the Guthrie's only going to work, where the Guthrie's at. If you take that theater and put it like in Austin, it might not work as well.
Hmm.
Where or like the Wiley Theater in Dallas, it's like a seminal theater in that city. Try to
Hmm.
put it in maybe in Iowa or in New York. It's just not going to work. The vibe's not going to work, right?
Yeah.
So our designers and the architects, they and the users of that theater, who the people who are going to actually be using that theater, they talk a lot about that, because building a theater takes, it can take 5 years, it can take 20. You never know. It takes a while. The
Yeah.
the timelines are longer. Like
Hmm.
one of my professors always said that, in managing things, it's, you're managing a process. You don't have to know every tiny little bit about, how to do a thing. You're just managing the process going forward. The only difference between producing theater and building the theater is just the timelines are longer. The
Yeah.
process is the same. It's just that
Hmm.
the timelines are a lot longer and the budgets are a
Exactly.
little bigger.
Hmm. What would you say like the biggest budget you guys have had to work with as a company or for building a theater?
Oh, I don't know. They run the gamut. Like
Yeah.
they're millions of dollars. It's, you're
Yeah.
building really big spaces that are very bespoke and very particular. They can kind of only be used for one thing,
Yeah.
performance. We do try to multi-purpose spaces as much as we can, so they
Yeah.
can be used for different stuff. But an opera house is an opera
Yeah,
house.
exactly. Yeah. For sure. One purpose
Mhm.
only, and that's to have operas in.
Right. Yeah. It's to have
But
that, to have performances, and
yeah.
bring people together so they can have a shared experience.
Hmm.
And it's super important, right? It's way important, especially now, whenever we're all so disparate. We're all, hungry for some sort of
Yeah,
kind of interaction, and we've, in theater, people are very inventive, and we've been able to, adapt and work and be able to make this environment work. I've seen some pretty brilliant shows that have been done over Zoom, and it's been
yeah,
adapted and changed. And that's my, I applaud the theater people who've been able to make that happen.
definitely.
But at the same time, it's like, man, I really miss, going in, sitting in a
Yeah,
seat, looking at
yeah,
yeah, right, while
yeah, exactly. Well,
watching that curtain open.
especially me, me being as, a tech person, like, working,
Yeah,
being in a theater, like, touching equipment is just, I miss that,
yeah. Just building a flat,
Yeah,
man.
exactly. Exactly. It was, I mean, speaking of pandemics, we're on a pandemic, obviously, and theaters are, shut down. How has this affected your job?
Uh, Honestly, we're as busy now as we've ever been. It's like the construction industry never really slowed down.
Hmm.
So, but we're building. I feel like we're building for the future. That we're finishing these buildings in a lot of cases, or we're just starting these buildings with an eye out for, when we come back. It's
Yeah.
not if, it's like it's when. So it'll be like when we come back, these spaces will open, and it'll it'll be amazing. It'll be just like it'll be kind of I don't think it'll be like it was before. I think there's going to be a lot of changes that we don't see. I think that the way
Hmm.
theaters are ran, I think the way they're managed, I think the way that plays are produced, the types of plays that we'll be producing, all of that has gotten shaken up and
Yeah.
changed since March. And I just feel that it's going to be a totally different environment once we start back. But all I want is that I want there to be, a place for these artists to do that new work, because that's
Yeah.
super exciting to me. Is the new stuff that's coming, the brand new stuff that's coming. I don't want after all of this to come back and then go sit and watch, just your typical 1950s musical. that's
Yeah.
that's not what I want to see. I want I want us as theater practitioners, as theater artists, as the people who go to watch these shows, to come and have this be completely new, something that's just amazing. Because,
Hmm.
then, why are we doing all this?
Yeah.
It needs to be. We have this opportunity to really make something new and special.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
if it
I think especially also like, going out of pandemic, everyone's cooped up at home, new theater, brand new show opens, you walk in, the smell of it, like a
yeah.
distinct feeling,
Mhm. We're doing a lot of there's a lot of colleges that we're building a lot of theater for education, and
Hmm.
those spaces are, there's some of them are still working on more of an educational model than an actual producing model.
Yeah.
But this is great, because the the newer generations of theater people are still learning theater,
Yeah.
which is great, and they're learning in a in a different environment than I learned it, and I think a better environment than I learned it. So I think it's all for the better. We just have to get through.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah, yeah. Well, it's hard on Zoom too, because I mean, I know for me, like I'm taking a technical theater class, right? And my teacher, is in the theater, but no one's there, and she's like, doing demonstrations on the equipment, but it's like it's hard to not be there with her and have that experience. But
yeah,
it's different, you know. But yeah, I think I just hope theater comes back soon, because I think all of us theater people need that back,
yeah, oh
particularly
yeah,
for job wise and all that.
hmm
For entertainment too.
that's right. Oh yeah, and I've talked to a lot of colleges over the past 8 months. Uh,
Hmm.
um, Distanced over
Yeah.
Zoom, over whatever, just like this. And I think, and I've talked, given my little spiel about theater consulting, and, like,
Yeah.
my background, where I came from, and yada yada yada. But I think that the question I probably get asked the most is well, should I keep doing what I'm doing? Like I'm a sophomore in college. I just started. All of this is happening, and I feel like my whole world is being upended. Like,
Yeah.
should I do what my parents say and go be an accountant, or should I keep on doing this this thing that I want to do?
Yeah.
And of course my knee-jerk response is be like, stick with it, do it, but I think there's a little bit of some overlap there, where this is a good opportunity to be able to train and get training on things that you wouldn't necessarily would have had as if you were just doing normal theater classes,
Yeah.
because everything is distance. You can do whatever you want.
Exactly.
So I've always said that the most important thing is to make sure that you're able to feed and house yourself, and if you're lucky enough to have family that's tagging along with you, to be able to support everybody in your living environment, and then look at, and then come back and then look at theater in the work of theater and try to be very, what's the word I'm looking for here? Try to be very smart about it. Like, don't undercut yourself, because a lot of what theater people do this all the time, where we'll take unpaid internships because we think we need that experience so that we can get the next job, and then we'll take a job that pays that will only pay for housing because we think that we need that work. We're constantly undercutting our own work. We have a valuable skill that we're giving away for nothing. And so I hope that we're all seeing that during this downtime, we're seeing that our resources of value to everyone around us, and that we should stick up for ourselves, and we deserve these fair wages. We deserve that wage. And I just hope that happens. I think it is. These conversations are happening a lot. And so, because, once all this shakes out, the job pool is going to look a lot different than it did before we started. So,
yeah. Do you think it's gonna be like harder when we go back for technicians and stage managers to get back to get jobs at certain theaters? You think, or you think it would be easy to come back into it?
I think that for technicians and for those job roles where those backstage job roles, or even front of house job roles, you think it's in a production technical oriented type of way. I think that those jobs will there'll be a lot of them. I think there'll be more jobs than there will be people to fill them, because I think that a lot of us, especially people my age and around there, who we're taking this opportunity to maybe it's time to stop. This everything's slowing down.
Yeah.
Now's a good time to retire, or maybe go do consulting.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So something, just get out of active producing, and then because maybe we were looking for an excuse to stop the hustle, and then this was the excuse that a lot of us got, and so some of us have moved out because either we had to, or maybe we did a lot of soul searching over the past 8 months.
Yeah.
And try to find something new to do.
Yeah, but so I think it's also, like you said, I think it's a great time to kind of step back and kind of decide where you want to go in the future in the long run too.
Because it's your life, right?
Exactly.
You shouldn't let your you shouldn't let theater be like force you to do something that maybe you don't want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, God, I've gotten out of theater like 4 or 5 times in my career because I was just sick and tired of it. It's just like, God, I'm done.
Yeah.
After one terrible loadout, one night it's like, okay, 20-hour loadout, I'm done. I'm not going to do it anymore. And then, about 6 months later, I'm applying for jobs and whatever. So it's like it just keeps pulling you back in. There's an urge to want to do that. But I think that, like you said, this is a great time for us to all kind of look at our lives and and see how it goes.
Exactly. So, but thank you so much for talking with me. It was a pleasure talking with you about your experience and giving some insight about that. So thank you so much.
It's no problem. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you guys for watching, and tune in next Thursday for another episode of Tech Talk with Ethan. Thank you so much, guys.